What's going on? And happy Tuesday to you out there. It is the 11th of March. I'm learning valuable lessons this morning. I learned that when you run out of brown sugar and all you have left is the brown sugar simple syrup that you made last week, the teaspoon ratio to cup of coffee ratio is different. It's a little more concentrated. So there's a little sweeter than I want it this morning. See, just learning valuable lessons. I also learned this morning that the what I call soft pants, the pajama bottoms that I wear some nights, the legs are getting a little wide on them. I was going up the stairs and I hung my toe in the other leg's leg hole. And I almost ate shit on the steps. I did not. I caught myself. I got cat-like reflexes. All kinds of interesting things happening this morning. I'm a little tongue-tied today. I guess I'm just too excited about this weather we got coming up. It's already 67.1 degrees at the world headquarters right now. Lovely. Absolutely love it. Had a buddy, a friend and a comedian out of Memphis post this morning. He said, I love that I'm living in a time period where you can order avocados on your phone while you're taking a dump, but we're still executing people via firing squad. Never let anyone tell you that America isn't romantic. My buddy Ross Turner over in Memphis. Great radio personality and a great comedian and just an all-around good fella. West Tennessee weather. Actually, we'll get to that in a second. I want to say a little bit of something about our sponsors. The Misfits Market and Expo for 2025 coming up March the 29th and the 30th. They're sponsoring the call-in and the text line for us. We appreciate that very, very much. That number is 731-388-9080 if you'd like to be a part of that conversation with us. Or you can comment on the video you're watching, the live stream on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live. I've got the scroll pulled up so I can see them as they come through, and I answer them as quick as I can, but that is brought to you by the 2025 Misfits Market and Expo. It's a local shopping experience like you've never seen before, and I tell you what, it is worth stopping by. They got a little bit of something. It's a one-of-a-kind annual event offering unique products for everybody. They welcome you to come and explore the diverse range of vendors that they have to offer, from handcrafted art, tattoos, oddities, vintage goods, local food trucks, and so much more. The Misfits Market and Expo has a little bit of something for everybody. Join them and myself for an unforgettable experience at the third annual Expo, which this year is going to be held at the Jackson Fairgrounds. It's going to be March the 29th and the 30th at the Jackson Fairgrounds. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'll be out there live streaming. Stop by, say hello, why don't you? A little bit of Polyphia to bring us in this morning. Man, I love that tune. Brings back some memories. The old Polyphia. That song is called Lit. It's actually a remix of one of their tunes off of, I want to say, Renaissance is what the... Yeah, I think that's the album that's on. It's going to be a beautiful day around West Tennessee. If you're going to be out and about in it, I do suggest stepping outside, get a little bit of that vitamin D. It does help. Seasonal depression's a bitch. It's real. That sundowners. Oh, it'll get you. I stood outside yesterday. I say helping my friend with some vehicle stuff. I think I did more damage, and I feel very guilty about it. I think I did more damage than I did good. Got out there losing parts, and I feel a little bit of guilt in my heart about that. A little bit. I'll have to make it up for him. Make it up to him, I should say it that way. 66.9 degrees. We're sitting right at 67 degrees right now in North Jackson. Out of the airport formerly known as McKellar-Sipes, now Jackson Regional Airport, it is 67 degrees. That is 19 degrees Celsius. If you're playing along at home, today, sunny, behind your 77 degrees. It's going to be a really nice day out there. Tonight, clear with a low around 50. For your Wednesday, going to rebound back up to 77, 78. I do feel like some of the outlying areas around West Tennessee are going to get closer to that 80-degree mark. It's going to be nice. Wednesday night, a chance of showers moving in. Between probably 1 and 4, 1 and 5 o'clock in the morning. You have some clouds. Throughout the evening, about 60 for a low. I'm going to say 50% chance of showers. For Thursday, showers likely, maybe a thunderstorm in the morning. We'll have some lingering around in the afternoon. Maybe a tenth of an inch of rain. Not a whole lot. High near 73 for your Thursday. Thursday night, cloudy, 55 for a low. For your Friday, a high around 80, 81 degrees, somewhere in that range here for West Tennessee. Friday night's what I'm looking at. That's when some of these severe storms might come through Friday evening, so stay close to a radio or a television. Make sure that we're watching those. I think it'll be overnight as we see those, and then Saturday, some showers in the morning. They're going to push out of the way. A high near 74 degrees. And we're going to drop all the way down to about 45 for a low Saturday night. So it's going to be a big shift in temperature coming our way. That is your West Tennessee weather. Brought to you by Smith Oddities in downtown Jackson. Go give them a visit. They get all kinds of goodies over there. And again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, the call in and text line 731-388-9080. Brought to you by the 2025 Misfit. That's going to be March the 29th and the 30th. From the comments section, David Vance chiming in saying, it's a beautiful day raising chickens and raising bees. Good morning, Justin White. Man, good morning to you. David's great people. It's a great day to be out there doing it, David. You're absolutely right. Beautiful day to be outside. When I get off of this, I promise you, I'm going straight outside. I got some stuff around the barn I want to do, sweep it out a little bit. Got to take advantage of these nice days while we can. We absolutely have to take advantage of these nice days. Got a lot to get to today. I'm going to go ahead and get into some of it. Let's do the fun stuff at first. That's, you know how I am. If you listen to the show very often, that's kind of my move. On this day in history, March the 11th, ball player Anthony Davis, born back in 1993. British author Douglas Adams, born in 1952. Everyone's favorite scumbag, Rupert Murdoch, Australian born, but he's I think he's got American citizenship regardless. He has spearheaded some of the most conspiracy-driven news outlets in the history of our country, at least. Just propaganda machines. Rupert Murdoch, born on this day in 1931. And born March 11th, 1898. In Massillon, Ohio, American actress Dorothy Gish. All the way back in 2011, on this day, March the 11th, an earthquake struck off the northeastern coast of Honshu, Japan, causing widespread damage in the country and triggering a devastating tsunami that I think we all remember instigated a major nuclear accident. On this day back in 2020, I think we all remember it very well, the World Health Organization, the WHO, declared that the COVID-19 outbreak was officially a pandemic. We remember what happened shortly after that. Everything started shutting down. Mask mandates. It became very politicized. Whereas most of the world just said, okay, I don't want anybody else's nanas getting sick. I'll do my part and I'll wear a mask when I'm out in public. This is not tyranny. They're not taking our rights away. Just trying to kind of do the right thing here. But that was officially declared on this day that the COVID-19 pandemic was a pandemic back in 2020. I always thought it was odd that people wanted to make that into such a thing. I told somebody one time that if it all comes out to be a hoax, they say, it's a plandemic, it's a hoax. I always said that if that was the case, say I got the wool pulled over my eyes. Well, if the worst thing you can say about me and my legacy is that Justin White, he wore a mask in public because he thought that it might help somebody else. It might he thought it was going to keep other folks from getting sick. Yeah, what a jerk he was. Trying to give a darn about other people. If that's what you want to say about me, that's totally fine. But that was on this day in 2020. In 2006, on this day, Chilean politician Michelle Bachelet became the first woman to serve as the country's president as she was sworn into office on this day in 2006. On this day in 2004, Madrid suffered a series of terrorist attacks when 10 bombs detonated by Islamic militants exploded on 4 trains at 3 different rail stations, killing 191 people and injuring some 1,800 others. In Madrid, that was back in 2004. I'd almost forgot about that. From the comment section, Jay Arnold, what's up, my man? He said, hey, that fella gave me a cigarette recently. Hope to see you again at the expo. Yeah, man, I will see you at the expo. I need to holler at you, by the way, Jay. I need to cut some of this mop of hair I have on my head, and I hear you're pretty good at that, so I might be giving you a holler soon, my man. But yeah, I will see you at the expo. I'm gonna have a booth out there, Misfits Market 2025. That's March 29th and 30th out at the Jackson Fairgrounds. Come see me. I got a booth, gonna be live broadcasting. On this day in 1990, following a vote in Parliament, Lithuania became the first Soviet republic to declare its independence from the USSR. On this day in 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev succeeded the former leader to become the leader of the Soviet Union. On this day in 1942, during World War II, Allied forces in the Southwest Pacific Theater came under the command of U.S. General Douglas MacArthur. Following his tour in the Philippines. On this day in 1941, the United States Congress passed the Lend-Lease Act. Got a couple more right here, and then we'll get on to the calendar days. On this day in 1918, speaking of pandemics, one of the most devastating pandemics in human history finally reached the shores of the United States as the country reported its first case of the Spanish flu. No one was alive that's listening to this right now, but back in 1888, a winter storm began on the Atlantic coast of the United States, ultimately blanketing New York City with 22 inches of snow. Other areas surrounding got up to 50 inches. It was the Great Blizzard of 1888. It became known as that later on. It killed more than 400 folks, caused widespread property damage. And lastly, back in 1811, in Arnold, Nottingham, textile workers staged the first major Luddite riot in England, breaking the machinery that was sent. The protest launched a movement that spread throughout the country. That was back in 1811. Hey, Arnold, coming across. What you saying, my man? On the text line. Holler at me for all your at J Does Fades at Spa Vita. And anything but mediocre. You guys heard it right here. Holler at your buddy Jay Arnold. I'll put my name on it. The guy does good work. I checked some of your art out the other day, by the way, online. I thought it was fantastic. I was pleasantly pleased. He says, if you want to find a local weatherman, I'll be your tag team partner. Man, I love the weather. I miss my calling of being a weatherman. I kind of wish I'd maybe gone into meteorology at some point in time. Today, March the 11th, on the calendar is 3/11 Day, for those who celebrate and recognize that. I already talked to my buddy Trevor Shackelford this morning. He's in this line of work. Today is National Funeral Director and Mortician Recognition Day. Most of us will need one eventually. Today's also National Promposal Day. Been quite a while since I've thought about proposing to somebody for the prom. That is today, March the 11th. It's also National Oatmeal Nut Waffles Day. Pretty specific. I like a good waffle. You kind of miss me with the oatmeal nut waffle. I just want a regular old waffle. I'll go to the Waffle House. As my daughter and I sing all the time. I made up a song for her a long time ago, like you do as a parent. The song goes, who eats waffles at the Waffle House? It's call and response. Who eats waffles at the Waffle House? And Penny says, Penny eats waffles at the Waffle House. It's a very short song, but boy, she loves to sing it. We'll do it over and over and over. It's a whole lot of fun. Today, March the 11th, is also National Worship of Tools Day. I consider myself to be a bit of a wrench turner. Right tool for the right job. I like tools. Today is National Worship of Tools Day. Don't know about worshiping them. But to my fellow wrench turners out there, today's the day to look into them tools. And lastly, March the 11th, today is National Johnny Appleseed Day. Pulled up a little information about that right here. Sorry again if the video's lagging and it's skipping a little bit. Been having a little bit of connection issues. I'm sure you can still hear it, so that's fine. Today, March the 11th, National Johnny Appleseed Day. We remember a man who made apples and pear trees bloom across the nation. The day celebrates a kindly legend who lived by sage teachings and labored to bring the shade of fruit trees across much of these United States. He was born John Chapman on September the 26th, 1774, in Leominster, Massachusetts. He was born to parents Nathaniel and Elizabeth Simmons Chapman. Not much is known about his early life other than his mother died when he was 2 years old, and his father packed up old Johnny Appleseed and his sister, an infant brother, had actually died the previous year. They moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, and his father served as a Minuteman and fought actually at Bunker Hill. Then in 1797, John Chapman shows up in northwestern Pennsylvania propagating his apple seeds. He worked his way steadily into the frontier of West Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana. Eventually, Chapman became known as Johnny Appleseed, worked his way far west to Illinois and Iowa, and Wisconsin. In his wake, left orchards and the teachings of Emanuel Swedenborg, a Swedish-born leader. Appleseed would buy his books with whatever payment he might receive for his endeavors, and in turn, Johnny would give the books away as he traveled and as he planted. That's pretty cool. National Johnny Appleseed Day. Mostly, though, he planted his seeds and seedlings for free, along with dropping some wisdom on people. His broad-brimmed pasteboard that kept the sun from his eyes, often shoeless. He traveled mostly by foot and sometimes by horseback or canoe. His appearance was nearly as noteworthy as his accomplishments, but so was his kindness. Farmers and frontier folk found a place at the table if Johnny Appleseed came visiting. Pretty cool. There's a lot of stories about the man who would travel many miles to nurse an ailing orchard when word would reach him of its poor condition. Bringing the trees back to health would be his chief endeavor, while dispersing some wisdom, care, and kindness as he went along. So if you find yourself in the Midwest, landmarks pepper the countryside, honoring the man that brought fruit to the frontier. Warren County, Pennsylvania, lays claim to Johnny Appleseed's first tree nursery. Mansfield, Ohio, honors the man with a monument in South Park. The last known Chapman tree still lives, actually. In rural Ashland County, Ohio, the tree struggles to survive, but half of it still manages to bloom in the spring. A Johnny Appleseed tree still going. It's pretty cool. In his hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts, there's an entire park named after the man who nurtured the land and made apple trees bloom across a young nation. Johnny Appleseed Day. So there's 2 days celebrating Johnny Appleseed. It's either March the 11th, which is today, or September the 26th. The September date is Appleseed's acknowledged birthday. However, many people across the country prefer March due to the planting season. I got to get my garden in. I'm trying to decide if I'm doing one this year, and I hate that because I've done a garden every year for so very long. I'll probably do something small this year. I've got a little bit on my plate, but I'm sure I'll do something this year. I always got to grow some peppers, some tomatoes, and cucumbers. Those are kind of my go-to. While some vagueness surrounds Appleseed's death and burial, he became ill in early March, and he passed soon after. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, In Johnny Appleseed's park, a grave marks the spot where the legendary sower of apple seeds rests. Today is National Johnny Appleseed Day. I didn't know that he also was involved with pears. I thought it was just apples. Also pears. So get out there, celebrate the man. Plant a little garden. And especially with this warm weather coming in, good day to get out there and do it. The opposite of warm weather. This is out of Prague from the AP. Czech cold water swimmers on Saturday of this last weekend set a new world record for the largest polar dip. The polar bear dip. The polar plunge. Y'all, I gotta be honest with you. Nothing about that's ever tempted me or sounded exciting. Nothing about that sounds like a lot of fun. I hate being cold. It's coming up on 11:30. It's almost 70 degrees outside, and I have a space heater on. I mean, it does stay cool in my office, but still, I ain't gonna be cold, and not on purpose. A total of 2,461 participants were involved in the successful attempt on the Most Lake in Northwest Czech Republic. The previous record was 1,799 swimmers who participated in the polar bear dip in Poland on the Baltic. Let's see, that was back in 2015, as according to Guinness World Records. For the record to be recognized, the participants have to be wearing bathing suits, be at least waist deep in the water, and stay there all together for at least 1 minute. I mean, if you're going to go waist deep, might as well get all the way in. The temperature of the water during the record attempt was 38.2 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 3.5 degrees Celsius. It has to be lower than 10 degrees Celsius Fahrenheit for it to count as a polar plunge. The organizer of the event, David Winkel, says, quote, Czechs are a nation of polar swimmers. He's a free diver himself, set a world record 4 years ago in men's swimming under ice when he swam a record distance of 265 feet under ice. I'm good on that, David. I'm good on that. Thank you, though. But some Czechs decided they were going to break the Guinness World Record for the most people participating in a polar bear plunge at 2,461 participants. Again, absolutely no thank you. Sticking with world records, this is from UPI. A pair of Idaho brothers are believed to be the youngest junior ranger badges at all 53 U.S. national parks, as well as 108 service sites. I love the National Park Service. I would like to visit all 63 at some point in time. I've got a long ways to go. I tend to go back to the same ones. I get a little bit more time, possibly a little bit more money. I guarantee you I'm going to travel the country and try to visit as many of these national parks as we can. So these two brothers are the youngest brothers to earn all the Junior Ranger badges, it appears. David Rush, so that's the guy that we talk about sometimes, who holds the most concurrent Guinness World Records. He and his family visited their first national park, Death Valley National Park, on the California Nevada in February of 2020, when his sons Jeremy and Peter were 3 years old and 1 year old. The boys are now 53 national parks, as well as, like I said, 108 other National Park Service sites. Interested youth compete in a series of activities during a part of their answers with the park ranger and receive a Junior Ranger patch and a Junior Ranger certificate. This is Junior Ranger website. That's how they explain that. Typically between the ages of 5 to 13, although people of all ages can participate in that. David Rush said that his sons Jeremy and Peter are believed to be the youngest brothers to complete the Junior Ranger program at every national park. He said, when we visited our first national park 5 years ago as a family, we didn't imagine we'd make it to all of them, let alone in just 5 years. The joy it has brought us and our family, and the joy that the national parks brings, is 300 million visitors a year, justify them as America's best idea. And Rush, I could not agree more. I think that is one of the best things we've ever done as a nation, is setting up the National Park Service. The father said he had submitted information to the National Park Service as well as Guinness World Records just to see if Jeremy and Peter can get an official record for being the youngest brothers to earn Junior Ranger badges in 63 national parks, and if Peter can get recognized as the youngest overall to compete in this feat. So we'll see. Their dad, like I said, he holds the most concurrent Guinness World Records, as well as holds the most Guinness World Records, period. He's passing that along to his boys, getting them involved. But they've earned all 63 National Park Service Junior Ranger, in my opinion. Pretty cool. Good for them. This one out of Denver, to be specific. Thieves nabbed a pair of high-priced bulldogs from a Colorado pet store and allegedly faked a seizure to distract employees while an accomplice grabbed the puppies from a pen and ran out. That's what authorities are saying. The theft, which was captured on surveillance video, happened on Sunday, so it's just been a couple of days ago. The three men walked into a pet store in suburban Denver a few minutes apart, walked around, asked questions about the puppies, which sell for a whopping $4,300 a piece. This is from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. While a 37-year-old man appeared to be having a seizure, one of the other men lifted the lid of the pen where the puppies were kept, took two, and began running out of the store. An employee tried to tackle him, and the man dropped the puppies but managed to grab them up again and run out with a second guy right there with him. They got into a gold Cadillac Escalade with tinted windows, no license plate, and pulled up outside the store. The man who allegedly faked a seizure was arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to commit a felony, theft, and drug possession. You're going to do this with drugs on you? I mean, trust me. I'm sure there were drugs involved in hatching this scheme. They're not exactly criminal masterminds here, right? But maybe don't have the drugs on you when you go to commit this crime. But again, most criminals are not the smartest. The man who allegedly faked a seizure, like I said, he was arrested. Conspiracy to commit a felony, theft, and drug possession. Investigators were looking for the other two men who were driving the getaway vehicle. One of the puppies was later returned by a woman who bought it for $15 street vendor and realized it looked like the dogs in the photos shown in the news coverage of the theft. So one of the puppies has been returned. $4,300 for a puppy is what they sell them for at the store. I can't make that make sense. That seems like, and I got it. People love their dogs, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a bit excessive for a dog. $4,300. What kind of dog did it say it was? Were they pitties? Bulldogs. They were bulldogs. My buddy Adam, my best friend, Adam Bain, they had English bulldogs. I know. I believe they bred or raised English bulldogs for quite a while when we were younger. His parents did. He listens sometimes to the show. Adam, if you're listening, how much were they selling the puppies for? Surely it wasn't $4,300. I'd have a hard time believing that. That just seems excessive. But, drugs make you do some wild shit. And this guy, he did have drugs on him. I'm not saying that's why he did it. That's for darn sure. Speaking of drugs, this is out of Bogota, Colombia. Colombian police apprehend a 40-year-old man attempting to smuggle several bags of cocaine concealed between a meticulously attached toupee. Police said that the suspect was detained at, Cartagena's airport on Monday as he prepared to board a flight to Amsterdam. A scanner revealed the hidden cargo, 220 grams of cocaine packaged in small baggies. That is not a small amount. He says they were strategically placed under what authorities describe as a narco wig. I got to see pictures of this. Police estimate the street value of the drugs at approximately 10,000 euros. I think it's funny they say in this article, the exact the copy they wrote was police estimate street value of the drugs at approximately 10,000 euros in European shit. It's European markets. Somebody got paid to write this copy. A police video released on Monday captured the moments an officer wearing blue gloves carefully removed the suspect's wig with scissors, revealing approximately a dozen packets of cocaine. Further police statements confirmed the suspect's prior criminal record, which included 2 previous drug trafficking convictions. Organized crime groups are exploiting young people, falsely suggesting they can easily bypass our security measures. However, this case demonstrates that that is not true. Cocaine production in Colombia has been rising. You don't say. Since 2013, according to the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. Do we have a picture? Yeah, we got a picture. He looks very unhappy, too. I mean, scanners are going to pick that up, my guy. You can't just walk thinking that they're not going to see the drugs under your hair. But he tried to in Colombia, out of Bogota, trying to smuggle cocaine under a toupee. You know, sometimes when people commit crimes, you say to yourself, all the effort you went into doing that, you could have just got a regular job, been on the up and up. This is a different kind of situation. This is one of those where I think, you were looking at a quick buck is what you thought. Wasn't a lot of effort put into it. Somebody else did all the, I started to say leg work. You were doing the actual leg work. And he, probably thought he was going to make a quick buck and just move along. This is from UPI out of Washington. A Washington woman said, analyzing the habits of a lottery winner, or other lottery winners, from reality TV show, her own $250,000 prize. Spokane resident Shannon Fernandez told Washington's lottery officials she's an avid follower of the HGTV show My Lottery Dream Home. She started paying attention to the stories of the winners featured in the series. Okay, doing her homework. Quote, the show just happens to profile a lot of people who win playing $10 scratch games, so I figured that should be the type of ticket I buy. There was a sparkly new $10 ticket that caught my eye, and that's the one I bought. Turned out I picked right, she said. Fernandez selected a pair of diamond crossword tickets from a lottery vending machine at Walmart on North Colton Street in Spokane, Washington. Do you call it Spokane or Spokane? She said, at first I counted 10 complete words, which is $1,000. That's pretty cool. Most I'd ever won. I've won $150 one time, but nothing close to $1,000. Then I kept looking, and I found an 11th word, which meant a $50,000 prize. I was so excited I called my husband, and we planned to celebrate later that night with a nice dinner. She said it wasn't until the clerk at her local Safeway store scanned the ticket that she discovered she had missed some words and had actually won $250,000. He didn't actually say the amount out loud. I just put the ticket and slip in my purse and I drove off. It wasn't until I got to the mall and walked into the lottery store that I looked at the slip and nearly fainted when I saw that it said $250,000. She said, I guess that 12th word was somewhere on the ticket after all. Good for her. Fernandez says that she and her husband were already in the market for a new house, and the big prize will allow her to buy a dream home of her own. I wonder what the taxes in Washington State are on $250,000. Maybe half. Maybe it'll end up, she'll still get, 100 to quarter. That ain't bad for just scratching off a ticket. David says, can like garbage can. These are always sweet stories when I see these come through. I don't always understand why they do it, but it is kind. An 81-year-old woman going through boxes of her mother's belongings made a surprising discovery: an overdue library book checked out by her grandfather 99 years ago. Berkeley Township read a box of items that had belonged to her mother when she came across the book, Homemade Toys for Boys and Girls, by A. Neely Hall, and discovered it had been borrowed from the Ocean County Library in March of 1926. Jay Arnold says, can like Justin McCankle. Grandfather Charles Tilton had been the one to check the book out 1 year before he died. I thought, I don't have grandchildren and my kids are getting older. Even if my son took it, I don't know what they'd do with it. I figured it belongs to the library. I'll bring it back. The Ocean County Library said that the book's return comes at a serendipitous time as the library system is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Librarians said the facility no longer imposes late fees, but they jokingly estimated it would have ranked of, let's see, what would it have been? Oh, it would have racked up about $18,000 in fees over the last 99 years. Home in a glass display case at the Ocean County Library's branch in Toms River. Well, that's a nice story. I understand why they brought it. Sweet of them. Homemade toys for girls and boys. It even rhymes. It was very sweet of her to bring that back. Get that back to the New Jersey library system. I wonder if the book has any value. It looks like it's in great shape, especially for a book it's 99 years past due. So the book's clearly well over 100 years old. Clearly well over 100 years old. I thought you guys might find this interesting. As my music tries to reload here. From UPI. Owner of a London comedy club announced that he's banning audience members with Botox injections after performers complained about unresponsive faces in the crowd. Hilarious. Owner of the top secret comedy club says that the business's two venues have decided not to allow patrons with Botox injections to be in the audience for comedy shows. Quote, I've had numerous complaints from performers who find it increasingly challenging to gauge audience engagement and bounce off their reactions. He said that in a news release. Comedy thrives on connection, and facial expressions do play a huge part. We want people to laugh, cry, frown, sneer, but frozen faces from Botox impact the entire atmosphere. Is this becoming a big deal? Maybe it's a bigger deal than I thought. To an expression check. Shut up. An expression check at the front door to ensure their faces are able to move before being admitted. You've got to be kidding me. That's a bit much. But I mean, hey, it's your club. You can do what you want to. They say, quote, we hope trialing this ban will help move the needle and get facial reactions back into the room for the benefit of our comedians and the audience. Is Botox becoming that big of a deal in London? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's off my radar. I don't know. I know that when you see people with that much Botox, it's kind of it's not like uncanny valley, but there's a level of it where you look at it and you're like, ugh, what in the world? You don't look quite human, in my opinion. David Vance on the comment section said, I turned in a library book as a child late. They charged me $1.50 for a 75-cent comic. The lesson I got was pay for the book rather than return the book or wait for an amnesty day. Yes, I'm that old, by the way. Jackson Madison now has no longer imposes fines. Oh, they don't. I didn't know that. I did not know that they didn't do fines anymore. That's good to know. But yeah, lesson learned, right? They charged you 2 times what the comic was worth. I've gotten to where I look at the Jackson Madison County Library's website pretty often, looking for stuff to take my little girl to, stuff that she would like. Libraries are one of the most important things in most communities. It's a place where you can go and be for free. It does not cost to go there. I also suggest that anybody who does not have a library card, is not a public library, go do it. Even if you're not going to use it much, go do it. Become a member of your local library. Get a library card. It helps with funding from the government when they see more members. And it really does help funding because it's a place where you can go and you can use internet. You can get free internet access. You can just warm up in the wintertime. You can cool off in the summertime. And there's a wealth of knowledge at your disposal for free. And I know we have the internet. Most of us do. We're fortunate enough to have the internet at our homes. But I would say, stop by your local library. They have a lot of cool programs, especially for the kiddos. Definitely worth giving that a shot and just checking it out. From the text line, Misfits Market and Expo 2025. Text line 731-388-9080. I don't know who this is that keeps sending me memes, but you do send the fire. I tell you what, you're sending some great memes. This one says, how did we get into this mess, you might ask? How did we get into this? Well, too many of you had football coaches for social studies teachers. Boy, doesn't that ring true. My econ teacher in high school, my economics teacher, my social studies teacher, I had a handful of teachers that were football coaches, softball coaches. I went to a Christian high school, and half of our Bible teachers were coaches. Also sent another meme over that said, it's incredible how, quote, if we meet people's basic needs, they'll stop working. But at the same time, billionaires are hard workers, and those somehow coexist in people's minds. How does that work? Yep, I like that. I agree with you. Oh, I meant to look that story up. Thank you for sending that over. Yes, I meant to look that up, and I will. The last meme that he sent over says, no gays allowed because the Bible says so, right? No gays allowed because the Bible says so. Well, the same book of the Bible, charging interest on loans, trimming your beard, selling land, eating shrimp, wearing 2 different fabrics at the same time. So let's not pretend that the Bible commands it is the actual reason. Maybe you're just a bigot. Thank you, anonymous texter. You're absolutely right. David Vance says, many schools use coaching as a bonus program for teachers since they didn't get overtime. I've heard that. I've heard that. I know at the Christian school I went to, coaches were required to teach. There was some qualification they had to meet, be it in hours or time spent in the classroom, something like that. So a lot of the coaches had to teach something. I mean, it got bad enough that my senior year, my economics teacher, he was a softball coach. We played fantasy football. That was what our assignment was for the fall semester. We had everybody had a fantasy football team, and we played against the class. We had a fantasy league. And that's how he was teaching us economics. Because he had to teach something. That's what they did. I was out of Memphis, Shelby County. Man shot by his own dog in Frazier. The stories are Fox out of Memphis. It says, uh-oh, Oreo. That's the name of the dog, blamed for shooting its owner early Monday morning in Frazier. While the pup may not be facing any charges, it certainly is in the dog. Great writing. Very professional. Good job, Fox 13. I'd expect a friend who did talk to Fox 13 on the identify them. They were freaking out, but now it's something that they can both laugh about. They said it was a rough day. Get it? Rough. For the owner after his pit bull Oreo. Police said that the girlfriend around 4 a.m. The pair were asleep with a gun in the bed. So when Oreo jumped up and joined them in the bed, the dog's paw got caught in the trigger and the gun went off, firing off a bullet that grazed the man's thigh. He says the dog is a playful dog. He likes to jump around and stuff like that, and it just went off. Fox 13, Dominique Dillian. She said, so the dog jumped on the bed. Did that wake you up, or did the gunshot wake you up? He said the gunshot. And then he said, no, it was a combination. The couple told Fox 13 they will be positive to leave. See what they're doing there? Positive. To leave the safety on any guns in the home moving forward. It's an incident that yet another reminder of the danger of guns not stored properly. Keep the safety on or use the trigger lock. Police said officials classified this as an accident. The man who was shot will be okay. Shot by your own dog in bed. Some things are, the truth is stranger than fiction. And that's news from around the world. Odd news, I should say, from around the world, around the country, around the state. Time to get into some stuff. Some more pressing things. Decided on Truth Social that he was going to make a to Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans. Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation. He's doing a fantastic job, all caps. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to exclusively boycott Tesla, one of the world's great automakers. And Elon's baby, in order to attack him and to do harm to Elon and everything he stands for. So first off, he just said that boycotts are illegal. That's not how that works. Boycotts are absolutely not illegal in the United States. Some people call that voting with your dollar. It's just fine to do that. But he goes on to say, they tried to do it to me at the 2024 presidential ballot box, but how did that work out? In any event, I'm going to buy a brand new Tesla tomorrow morning as a show of confidence and support for Elon Musk, a truly great American. Why should he be punished for putting his tremendous skills to work in order to help make America great again? That's what Donald Trump is posting. He's claiming the boycotts are illegal. That's BS. Some people are saying they're frustrated. They're saying that Donald Trump is using his position to sell cars for Elon Musk, and that's a blatant misuse of government power. I don't agree with that. He can say whatever he wants to. He can say he likes a vehicle. He can say he's going to go buy one himself. That's fine. It's not illegal. Is it a little shady? Yeah. Is he an unelected bureaucrat, billionaire, who's been given the keys to way more than he should be? Absolutely. But, I mean, the president can say that if he wants to. I hate it, but rules is rules. Looks like Senator Bo Watson, where's he out of? I forget what. Signal Mountain, Chattanooga. I think that's where he represents. This is just from about half an hour ago out of Nashville. He had sponsored a bill to block undocumented kids from going to school. He was confronted by Tennessee voters at the legislation. It passed the House subcommittee today 5-3. I might actually have. Let me see if I have that pulled up right here. The interaction was. I like the Tennessee Holler, and that's who was covering this. Boom, Tennessee Holler right there. Yeah, let me pull this up real quick, see if I can't do it this way. Let's see. Nope. Well, I thought I had that pulled up. I thought I could get it pulled up. Nope, ain't gonna work. So basically what happened, Bo Watson is walking out of the subcommittee there in Nashville, and he's saying that you voted, the interviewer saying, you voted for this. You voted to keep kids from going to school and getting an education. Who does that? He's saying these undocumented kids. You do realize that that's bullshit, right? These are not undocumented kids. If they were undocumented, then why in the world would they be in school? You can't be in school and be undocumented. You are by definition documented because you're at school. Also, in what society do we want to live in where we limit kids' opportunity to get an education, regardless of the status, documentation status of their parents? Shouldn't we want a more educated populace? They're going to be a part of society. I would think that we would want them to have an education. Seems pretty straightforward to me. What do I know? But it seems pretty straightforward to me. Wish I knew what was going on with that phone line there. I'll figure it out. From the comment section, Tommy Condry, what is up, my man? It says, did I already talk about how Trump's announcing he's raising tariffs on Canada in response to Canada's placing tariffs on the electricity they send us? You know, it's funny you bring that up, Tommy, because I've got it right here. Yep, I had that pulled up because let's see. Right here. We will go straight to that story right now, my man. And Tommy says the way our education system is right now, it might be doing them a favor. You know, it sucks, but it's a good joke, and I agree with it. That is humorous, and it's sad that that's even funny. It is. But it's sad. Trying to keep kids out of like what timeline is this, where Republicans are trying to keep kids out of schools, but they're undocumented. I'm sorry, are they taking your jobs too? This article is from Kevin Broninger. So Trump is raising he raises Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs to 50% in retaliation for Premier Ford out of Ontario's energy duties. So he's retaliating again. President Donald Trump said Tuesday he has ordered his administration to raise tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports by an additional 25%, bringing the total duties to 50%. The new policy will go into effect Wednesday morning. It's a quick one. Doing it today. Takes effect tomorrow, Trump said in a Truth Social post. That also repeated his calls for Canada to be absorbed into the United States as the 51st state. If you voted for this guy and you don't have buyer's remorse, or you cannot at least look at what he's doing in the rhetoric, well, it's pomp and circumstance, or he's just talking. He's a blowhard. He's a good businessman, this and that. Bullshit. None of that is true. You're defending somebody who would not pee on your leg if your foot was on fire. He does not care about you. He didn't really care about his constituents. He cares about his billionaire friends. That's all that he gives a damn about. And this is what's happening. You should have buyer's remorse. Why in the world? We talked about it yesterday on the show. Why in the world? In what universe imaginable is it a good idea to pick a fight with our two neighbors and two of our greatest trade partners, Canada and Mexico? Why? And remember what he said, why he did it. He said it was over fentanyl crossing the border. So explain to me how punishing or hurting them in this way, and the American people in this way, is going to do anything about fentanyl crossing the border. It's not. It's not. That's not what he's doing. He's tanking the economy. He's tanking the stock market, which, if you remember last go around, in his first term, he talked all the time about how the stock market was doing great. It's the best stock market ever. Nothing's ever been better. And then the stock market was going up. And during the campaign seasons, interviewers would ask him, why is the stock market doing so good under Joe Biden? And Trump said straight up, it's doing good because I'm ahead in the polls and people expect me to win, and that's why. It's not because of who's in office right now. It's doing good because of the nation being excited about me winning. Tommy says, I don't think he even cares about that. He cares about being in the news and being the center of attention. It goes deeper than that. He does care about those things, absolutely. But it goes deeper than that. He definitely has an agenda. So he's going to bring it up to 50% on steel and aluminum coming from Canada. And he keeps with this rhetoric of making it the 51st state, making Canada the 51st state. That is going to turn out to be a bad talking point. Canadians obviously don't want that, right? Clearly they don't want that. We shouldn't want that. Trust me, we've got enough on our plate right now without absorbing Canada. Trump said he was imposing the latest tariffs in response to Ontario's decision to slap a 25% tax on electricity exports to the U.S. This is just a pissing contest at this point. Tommy says, I don't think he'll make it to the end of the year. I think he's going to get legally pulled from office. There's enough opposition in his own party. And if you'll notice, other countries, Canada, the UK, other countries, when they talk, not to him, but when they talk to other Republicans here in the States, they all have the same thing to say. They're like, all the Republicans I talk to think this is a bad idea. All the Republicans I talk to do not like the idea of these tariffs. They don't like what he's doing. They won't stand up to him. Premier Ford from Ontario said that just yesterday. All the Republicans I've talked to, they disagree, but they're just the rank and file. They're falling in line and they're doing what they're told, but they don't like it, and they've expressed to me they don't like it. He's like, I don't understand why they won't stand up to him. I would like to think you're right, Tommy. I don't know if that'll happen, but a lot of them don't like what Elon Musk is doing. That's a big part of it. A lot of Republicans are very against this. RFK is kind of staying on board, but there's been others who have come out saying, wait. You can't just gut our departments this way. So the move by Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who I was talking about a second ago, was itself issued in retaliation for a sweeping 25% tariff that Trump had placed on imports from Canada. You see what's happening here? Donald Trump started this by putting 25% tariffs on imports from Canada, across the board tariffs. So Ford said, fine, we'll stop selling your bourbons and other things. We're going to take them off the shelf. American-made product. We're going to take them off our shelves. We're not going to buy them anymore. Not doing it. Was it the LCBO? We're going to take that off if you don't stop. And then Trump said, no, I'm not backing down. So they say, all right, 25% tax on electricity to what? Michigan, Wisconsin, and New York. And now Trump says, well, that's not okay, so I'm going to put 25% more. What are we doing here? It's like children on the playground. Tommy says in the comment section, most people that won't oppose him are 55 plus and don't want to admit they were wrong. Yeah, I agree. So many people they do not want to admit that they're wrong. They're going to stand by their decision. They're going to stand by their vote instead of admitting that this might not have been the best idea. Because it clearly wasn't. You wanted to own the libs so bad that you ended up screwing yourself over. I hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it to quote unquote own the libs. Because this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electric states, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. Trump wrote that on Truth Social just this morning. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, March the 12th, he wrote. So, based on just net tonnage, Canada is our largest. We import more steel from them than anybody else on the globe. 6.6 million net tons. The next closest is Brazil, followed by Mexico, which should not be surprising because they're right here beside us. Followed by South Korea, then Vietnam, then Japan, then Germany, then Taiwan. Now we export some to some other folks. We send a little bit to the United Arab Emirates. We export some to China. We export to South Korea, Mexico, a little bit to Brazil. But see, now we export very little by comparison to how much we import. Now, aluminum, we import more aluminum from them than anybody else and more steel from them than anybody else. This is going to be an issue. Markets are already reeling from the impact of Trump's tariffs, and broader fears of recession. Minutes after Trump's announcement, Ford said he would keep his countermeasure on U.S. energy in place. He was trying to not do it. He said he did not want to do this. But Trump doubled down. He's like, fine, fuck it. I'm going to keep this in place. This is what we're doing. Quote, "We will not back down. We will be relentless," Ford said on MSNBC. "I apologize to the American people that President Trump decided to have an unprovoked attack on our country, on families, on jobs, and it is unacceptable." In an interview on NBC Money Movers later Tuesday morning, Ford said he would be willing to shut off his province's energy supply to the U.S. altogether if Trump continues to hurt Canadian families. Don't blame him. He says, "I will not hesitate to do that. That's the last thing I want to do, but I will not hesitate." Trump imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico in early February before delaying them for 1 month and then reimposing them and then partially delaying them again. Premier Ford out of Ontario has vowed to keep Ontario's taxes in place despite Trump's latest reprieve, because you can't believe anything he says. "There's one person to be blamed. That's President Trump," Ford said on CNBC. "There's one person to be blamed. If we go into a recession, it will be called the Trump recession. No one else is doing this but him." Trump has not yet signed the formal paperwork to raise tariffs on Canada's steel and aluminum, but the order is in the works, a senior administration official said just this morning. The official, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said Trump's escalation was intended to lay down the gauntlet in response to Ford's action. But that's the whole thing. In response to Ford's action was a response to Trump's action. It goes back to one of the things in life that is one of my least favorite things that I see happen. It can be in relationships with a significant other. It can be with friends. It can be with a coworker, an employer. I hate this. When you do something stupid or foolish or hurtful, and then it gets a reaction out of people, and then you get mad at the reaction. But you can't be mad at the reaction. You're the one who caused that. And that's what Trump's doing right here. One of my least favorite things in the world. I did the thing, and I got a reaction out of it. And you know what? Maybe they're playing right into his game. Maybe it's a scenario in which Trump wants to do this. He wants to rile them up. He wants to get them all worked up. So it's almost like proves him right. Look at me. Look at what they're doing. Big bad Canada. Being unreasonable. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's some long game stuff. I do not want to give him that much credit. So I will not. The White House has no calls currently scheduled between the president and his Canadian counterparts, but the administration expects Ottawa to reach out at some point Tuesday. The official reported separately in the Truth Social post. Trump demanded that Canada, quote, immediately drop an anti-American farmer tariff on certain U.S. dairy products. Who are you to talk about what's anti-American? He also warned, and it could be anti-American. They're Canada. They're not America. It's anti-American. Well, that's their prerogative. They're a sovereign nation, dude. He also warned that he will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. Then produce more electricity. I know it's not that easy, but you know what I'm saying? Why are you're relying on Canada, which classically has been a fine relationship. Trump wrote, "This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada." So what you did wasn't abusive, but what they're doing in response is. The president also declared that if Canada does not lift other egregious long-time tariffs on the U.S., he will substantially increase tariffs on auto imports on April the 2nd. Did you hear that he said, I was in an interview the other day, he said that it's going to be April 2nd, not April 1st, because he doesn't want people to think it's a joke. He doesn't want people to think it's an April Fool's Day joke. What are we talking about here? Doing so will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada, Trump wrote. It won't. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for additional comment on Trump's post. Trump, who frequently praises tariffs as an economic multi-tool, has hyped April 2nd as the date he will impose widespread reciprocal tariffs on other countries that have their own duties on U.S. goods. You know, in reaction to the ones we've put on. Trump's on-again, off-again tariffs on Canada and Mexico have inflamed tensions with both U.S. neighbors. They have stoked special ire in Canada, where movements have sprung up to boycott U.S. products and political leaders. They're forcibly denouncing Donald Trump's trade war. Good for him. They should. Former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau directly accused Trump of trying to weaken his country in order to make it easier to annex, referring to Trump's repeated calls to make Canada the 51st state. That's never going to happen. That's not going to happen. In Tuesday's post, Trump connected it. Let's think about this. You can't annex an entire country and just say, yep, this is ours now. That's called an occupation. You'd have to use the military. If we're not going to send the military into fucking Canada, because you can't just say, hey, y'all are ours now. No, we're not. We are definitely our own sovereign nation. Nope. We've annexed you. You're ours now. Nope, you are not. Come and get it. And I'm not saying that Canada's got some huge, standing military that they can defend against the military that is, the might that is the United States. I'm just saying there's no way that the United States will do that. That would be absurd. Think about it. We would look like buffoons to the international community. Caveat, more than we already do under the Trump administration. On a global scale, the optics of the United States trying to take over Canada and make it our own is foolish. But again, these are the priorities of this administration right now. This is what they think is the most important. Bickering and infighting with Canada and Mexico. We've got two major conflicts going on globally that we definitely have a hand in. We have a dog in that fight, unfortunately, but we do. One's a NATO ally. They wanted to be a NATO member, the Ukraine. And then we've got Israel, which we've been buddies with for a long time, over here straight up genociding an entire group of people. I think that there's some pressing things going on globally that we should probably be a little more focused on, other than throwing bricks back and forth with Canada and Mexico. In Tuesday's post, Trump connected his tariff plans and his Canadian statehood goal even more explicitly. He says, this continue. The only thing that Canada become our cherished 51st state. He went on to say, this would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. While promising that Canadians' taxes would go down if this happened. Seriously. Again, not how any of this works. The artificial line of separation drawn many years ago will finally disappear. We'll have the safest and most beautiful nation anywhere in the world. This is what this man is saying. Donald Trump says, and your brilliant anthem, oh Canada, will continue to play, but now representing a great, powerful state within the greatest nation that the world has ever seen. Take it easy, Tommy. Said he's got to get back to work. Yeah, check back in tomorrow, brother. Always good to hear from you. Be careful out there, my brother. Yeah, so Trump's saying that he's pushing for it. We're going to take down the artificial line. It's not I guess all borders are technically artificial lines, but it's Canada. And honestly, I'd like to hear from anybody out there. 388-9080, or comment on the video that you're watching right now on the live stream on YouTube Live or Facebook Live. Let me know. If you are in any way in support of this, of Canada becoming the 51st state, why? Why would we do that? What do we stand to benefit from that? I personally, I can't see anything that we're doing that would make that make sense. Make that a good idea. Whole lot of news to get to today. The Republicans, looks like they're trying to pass that funding bill. Has the deadline to keep the partial government shutdown from occurring. Mike Johnson came out just this morning saying, we are absolutely not going to work with the Democrats. Not doing it. But by doing so, he's going to have full-on support from every single Republican. Every one of them. I just don't see that happening. Meanwhile, regions around Moscow got hit with one of the biggest drone attacks by the Ukraine in this whole endeavor. There's a lot going on, a lot of headlines, a lot to get to. You guys sit tight. It's 12:18, coming up on 12:19, Tuesday, March the 11th. I'm going to take a quick pause for the calls, and I'll be right back right after this. Do not go anywhere. Thank you.
Remember me, remember love, remember trying to stay together my time. You took it all, you tried to see, you tried to bring yourself up without involving me. It isn't fair to have you away.
Welcome back in. Sorry that break was a little bit longer. I was sitting here working on the phone lines. Pete, I saw you calling, brother. I used my phone to run the call-in line, and I've got the text line and the call line number routed through my personal phone. That's what you call that number. It forwards. And something's going on with it, so I was sitting there fooling with that. So if you're trying to call on the show, call back tomorrow to try to call on the show. And when I'm off air, I'll give you a shout back, my brother. I promise. If you want to be a part of the conversation, like I said, the call-in line is down, but the text number is up at 731-388-9080, brought to you by the Misfits Market and Expo for 2025. Local shopping experience like you've never seen before. One-of-a-kind annual event. They got a little bit something for everybody. Handcrafted art, tattoos. You can get tattoos at the market. Lots of little oddities, vintage goods, local food trucks, so much more. Something for everyone. They say, join us for an unforgettable experience at the 3rd Annual Expo. It's going to be held at the Jackson Fairgrounds coming up. Before we know it, it's going to be March the 29th and the 30th. Appreciate them being a sponsor very much. I'll have a booth out there. I will be live streaming. Stop by and say hey. We've made it up to 72 degrees in North Jackson and the surrounding areas here in West Tennessee. It feels really nice outside right now. You can't beat this with a stick. As they say, I'll put in an order for 10 more just like it. A little bit of the band Hyam to bring us back in. Coming up on 12:30. And Pete, sorry again about the phone line. I will shout back at you, my brother, I promise. And I'll get the phone line worked out for tomorrow. I'm going to have to do something a little bit different. I'm going to have to reroute these lines. But that's not the end of the world. So it looks like Elon Musk is all up in a tizzy right now, because X has apparently been the victim of some cyber attacks. That's what they're saying, cyber attacks against Elon Musk's X. I mean, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, right? We all feel very sorry for him. I had that story pulled up right here. There it is. This article by Rameshab Maroof for CNN Business is breaking just now today. Elon Musk's X was hit by waves of outages yesterday. On Monday, and Elon Musk is claiming it was due to a cyber attack with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine, which is odd because he actually is saying around the Ukraine, or allegedly originating from Ukraine. Musk said during an interview for Fox Business on Monday afternoon, we're not exactly sure what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area. So not exactly sure what happened. Pete, I see you right there. You know what? Give me 1 second, and I bet I can make that happen. You guys sit tight 1 second. I'm sure this is going to be exciting radio. We'll get this figured out. All right, I'm back. Let me see if I got this done right. If I did, then I'll go. Oh yeah, it works now. All right, cool, Pete. We are good to go. So if you want to give me a shout, give me a holler. I got that phone line fixed. So yeah, give me a holler, Pete. Be happy to take your phone call. I knew with just a little bit of effort, a little bit of trying, I could get that sorted out. The joys of trying to do it live. But hey, I needed to do that anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, Pete, give me a shout. 388-9080. I'll get you on the show, my friend. No problem. So yeah, it looks like Elon Musk is sitting here trying to say, he's stirring stuff up with Ukraine. He's very anti all of that anyways, having any involvement in the Ukraine. I mean, given he's trying to cut all this wasteful spending. Notice that one thing they're never going to cut is anything from the defense budget. That's not going to go away, right? So we're not going to see those kinds of cuts. Unsurprisingly. But they will cut all kinds of other things. And if you think for a second they're not coming after your Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, then you are out of your mind. So Musk did not give any further details about the origin of the attack, because of course he did not, including whether he believed it was connected to the Ukraine's government. Never did anything to say that. All right, let's go to the phone lines here real quick. Let's do this. Go ahead. Is it you, Pete?
Details about the origin of the attack, because of course he did not.
Oh, there you are, Pete. You got to turn your radio down. You got to turn the live stream down so you can hear me and I can hear you.
Say that. All right, let's go to the phone lines here real quick. Let's do this. Go ahead. Is it you, Pete?
Hey, Justin.
What's up, man? You got to turn your radio down.
Radio down. You got to turn the live stream down so you can hear me and I can hear you.
Okay.
Say that. All right, let's go to the phone line.
Hey, Justin. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How in the world are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good deal. Good deal. Man, what you think? You think that Elon Musk, do you think they were actually cyber attacked by the Ukraine? Do you think that's actually what happened?
I think that Elon Musk is crazy.
Yes. Certifiably, absolutely out of his mind crazy.
Probably out of his mind. Yeah, I mean, he's on acid and ketamine.
Well, that's the thing. He's been very honest and open about his ketamine usage.
Yeah.
And if anybody listening doesn't know the effects of ketamine, especially long-term use, it fries your brain.
It fries your brain.
It's not good. It's not like it's not like he's smoking a little bit of weed.
It ain't fun.
No. It's a party drug. It's a party drug. It's not. Now, I have, to be completely transparent, Pete, I have heard people talk about in small dosage for use in, say, with certain depression issues, some mental health issues, in clinical regulated small doses, that ketamine can be beneficial. But that's not what he's doing. He's using it recreationally. He's just using it to get messed up.
Justin?
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to tell you, you got the best radio show on the air.
Man, I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Yeah, groovy. Actually, why I wanted to cut, because it's a little bit depressing.
The show?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be a little bit depressing because what's going on right now is a little bit depressing.
Exactly. Yes. And so, I think we need to have a little bit of fun in our lives.
I save the fun for when I'm not trying to be informative about the potential fascist regime that's trying to take over our once very free and hopefully continues to be free nation.
Yes.
And it sucks. It sucks that we're getting to that point, but it's exactly what's happening. I mean, this is unprecedented. What we're seeing right now is unprecedented. And you and I spoke yesterday for quite a while after the show. You know, you are born and raised in the UK, and you were just a little background on you for the listeners. You were born and raised in the UK. You moved here, what, 12 years back?
Yeah.
12 years ago, you got your citizenship, your American citizenship. You went through the proper channels, did it the right way, and became a full-blown American citizen. And the reason that you did it is because you like America. You love America.
I love America.
What are you seeing, though, as somebody who is a little more traveled, I suppose? You've lived outside of the country, were raised outside of the country. What are you seeing right now that you consider to be the threat? What are you worried about in our country?
Well, I tell you what, I remember growing up in the 80s, and Ronald Reagan, the Gipper, he'd be rolling over in his grave right now.
Yeah. And he wasn't exactly a shining beacon on the hill of great ideas.
Beacon on the hill, yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't exactly full of the best sort of ideas. I mean, he really did some damage while he was in office, especially economically speaking. But even he, like you say, even he would be like, what is going on here?
But you know what, Justin? I don't know. I want to have some fun.
Yeah. All right. So here from the text line, Justin Lachey says we need to cut wasteful spending. I agree. We do need to cut wasteful spending, Justin. I agree with you wholeheartedly. He says they're not coming for Social Security and Medicaid. So my question is this: if they're not, then why won't they just say they're not?
Hey, Justin.
The other Justin?
Hey.
Hey.
I think this is great that I can call in to your radio.
I think it's great.
It's the best radio. It's the best radio show.
He says he goes on to say.
But I wanted to tell you a story.
All right, go ahead real quick.
Okay. So John Lennon. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, John Lennon. So this is according to John Lennon's driver. He was driving John Lennon around, and Paul McCartney had just released "Coming Up," and so he heard it on the radio, and John Lennon goes, "Turn that up, hey, turn that up, that's great." And then the vocal comes in. We can swear here, right? We can cuss, right?
Yeah.
And so the vocal, so he hears the intro to Paul McCartney's "Coming Up" on the radio. And then when the vocal comes in, he goes, "Fuck a pig, it's Paul."
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now.
All right, man. It's good to talk to you, Pete.
You too, Justin.
Take it easy, brother. It's Pete Wood. It's just that easy. I got the phone lines fixed. You can call back in. I wanted to address what Justin Lachey was saying on the comment section. So, your funds for trans frogs. That's what he said in the funds for trans frogs. Now, we remember in the State of the Union address when Donald Trump talked about transgender surgery on mice. He's doubled down on that, right? What he was actually talking about is transgenic. That was the word he meant to use, transgenic. After Trump alleged that the government was spending millions making mice transgender in his congressional speech, outlets fact-checked Trump's claims, and the White House released a list of studies that it said backed up the assertions. But after a closer look, it's revealed that the vast majority of the research was not focused on making mice transgender. It was aiming to gain knowledge to help human health, examining the effects of estrogen on asthma in women. It's a study mentioning transgenic mice, which is not the same as transgender mice. Transgenic mice are genetically modified mice that have DNA from another source put into their DNA. And that's according to the National Cancer Institute. These kinds of mice are used to study how certain diseases might affect humans. You put human DNA into these mice. That way we can test drugs on them instead of having to test them on humans. Transgenic, not transgender. Let's see. Justin commented back. He said, my question is, what are your thoughts on the list of things revealed by Doge? I do think that having a Department of Government Efficiency in and of itself on the surface level is not a bad thing. I do not have a problem with cutting wasteful spending. Not at all. There's lots of wasteful spending. I will say this. One of the largest bits of wasteful spending is our military. National defense. We could cut so much from the defense spending, which is in duplicate and triplicate, and be no less safe than we are right now. But they'll never go after that. They want to push a narrative about cutting things about transgender mice when that's not even an accurate claim. That's a false claim. It's transgenic. There are lots of government agencies that obviously have wasteful spending. I agree with you on that, Justin. I do not think... Okay, so if you really wanted to get rid of wasteful spending, you would bring in auditors. Now, these agencies are audited on a regular basis, but you would bring in auditors that would actually have a background in this, not a group of college kids, including one that goes by Big Balls. That's not what you would bring in to identify wasteful spending in government agencies. You would bring in people whose jobs are to identify wasteful spending across many areas in the government, not these tech bros. This says, Justin went on to say, it's research on cross-sex testosterone treatment. There is a such thing as that. And yes, there is reasons for that outside of gender-affirming care. There are reasons why you would want to do testosterone treatments that are cross-sex. Women have testosterone too. Men have estrogen. The levels can get out of whack for some people. That's why men take, and men's testosterone will drop as they age. Just like women's estrogen will drop as they age. They'll start having more body hair. Men will start having different weight set on their bodies in certain places as your testosterone levels change as you age, as well as when your estrogen levels change as you age. So yeah, there's a reason to do testosterone treatments, be it cross-sex, and estrogen treatments, be it cross-sex as well. I see what you just sent across, Justin. I know what you're talking about, and I have an opinion. I have a document pulled up on that. Give me one second. Let me get it pulled up here. One second. I don't have a problem, just go on what you said right there. I don't have a problem with him bringing in people that he trusts. I trust a lot of people, but just because I trust somebody doesn't mean that they're qualified. I trust my buddy Adam Bain with every ounce of my person. He's not qualified to oversee space exploration. You know what I mean? Just because he trusts them doesn't mean that they are qualified. Okay, I found it right here. Hold on. So February 6, 2025, Republican Nancy Mace of South Carolina claimed during a House of Representatives Oversight Committee meeting that the government had spent $10 million of taxpayer money on transgender animal tests. Mace and other Republican colleagues spread the claim by sharing clips of the hearing on social media. Yes, because that's what, I guess I should read what you wrote so that people listening know what I'm talking about, or what you were talking about too. You wrote, during a February 6th hearing, Mace, the chairwoman of the House Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation, shared findings from the White Coat Waste Project, WCW, a watchdog group focused on exposing and ending government-funded animal experimentation. According to the WCW's 2024 study, at least $10 million in taxpayer money was used on studies involving transgender animals. That was the claim. And that's what I just that's what I read right here. All 5 grants named in the first report involved taking animal subjects. Hold on. I moved my mouse too. Speaking of mice. This says, in fairness, though, you don't work in politics. No, I don't work in politics. I follow them very closely, and in my job in radio for a very long time, I followed it very closely. I guess I could say you don't work in politics either, you know. I would like to see the qualifications for these people that he's put in power that he trusts, and see their qualifications for how they are an authority on waste. But back to what we were talking about. So the story that you were talking about from February 6th and Nancy Mace, it gained significant coverage on conservative media outlets like Fox News, Daily Mail. They had both published articles about this. Let's see. The Daily Mail claimed that the government spent millions turning monkeys and mice transgender. Both Breitbart and the Gateway Pundit, they also covered the story. On March the 4th, jump forward about a month, President Donald Trump repeated similar claims during his joint address to Congress, which I was speaking about earlier, when he said the federal government allocated $8 million for making mice transgender, which ended up being transgenic, not transgender. And it is the White Coat Waste Project. The claim originated from a conservative-led advocacy group, according to a 2022 BuzzFeed report. A consultant for several Republican campaigns also cited this. The group's goal is to end animal testing and experiments in laboratories across the country by campaigning on a platform of government waste, because they actually do want. That's why I wanted to pull this article up, because I knew I remembered some of this. I just wanted to read it accurately. In December of 2024, the WCW, that is the White Coat Waste Project, they published a report claiming that the federal government wasted more than $10 million to create transgender mice and monkeys. And then February the 28th of 2025, it claimed it had found that the government had spent $250 million and counting on transgender animal experience. So let's start with the first report and that second report, because they have slightly different information. Justin Goodman, man, we got a lot of Justins in here. We got Justin Lachey, Justin White. This is Justin Goodman, WCW Senior Vice President of Advocacy and Public Policy. He explained via an email how the organization arrived at those numbers. He said, our estimate of the NIH spending alone over all fiscal years for transgender animal experiments is $245 million based on search for NHI grants and contracts that include the terms transgender and animal model. This is the floor because many other NIH grants being used to fund transgender animal testing don't mention any relevant terms in their abstracts or in their keywords. So he's saying this is just a base level of how many programs are involved in this and how much money they're spending. Goodman went on to say that $26 million of that total was in active grants, meaning that they were still paying out money currently, and that more than 24 active National Institute of Health grants are currently or have recently funded transgender animal experience. They had allocated more than $64 million in total. So this is why those numbers are misleading. Searching the NHI reporter database using the term Goodman described saying using transgender and animal model, it reveals that 15 grants totaling roughly 25 million were active as of his writing. It's unclear why this is $1 million less than Goodman estimates, but the discrepancy could be due to the grant that the WCW calculated at the time no longer being active, possibly. It's a similar search over all available years from 2007 to 2025, and it revealed a total of 72 projects totaling 245 million. That's the same figure that Goodman had quoted. That's a lot larger range than what they were claiming. This is 2007 to 2025. However, the number is a significant overstatement of the amount of money being spent on, quote, transgender mice. For example, grants totaling more than 40 million issued in 2021 to the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle for HIV vaccine clinical trials includes a line about expanding the enrollment of persons of color and transgender persons into the HVTN trials. So it mentions involving transgender people in the trial. Therefore, that's going to come up when they search the NIH. So that's 40 million right there. Because they said they'd like to include people of color and transgender people into the trials because vaccines are almost always tested on animals before being given to humans. The grants also included the tag animal model. The HIV vaccine clinical trial grant issued between 2021 and 2025 to the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center made up 221 million of the 245 million grants across all those fiscal years. The first report claiming 10 million was spent to create transgender mice and monkeys, including screenshots of 5 grants from the NIH reporter database. Some of those grants were paid across multiple years, meaning 13 payments were listed in total. Those 13 payments totaled only about 5.4 million, and none of the research descriptions noted that monkeys were involved. Snopes and other fact checkers contacted the principal investigators of those 5 grants to learn more about the research. 3 of the 5 declined to comment. All 5 grants named in the first report involved taking animal subjects and injecting them with testosterone or estrogen in order to approximate gender-affirming hormone therapies given to some transgender people and other people who had deficiencies in testosterone or estrogen who were presenting as the gender at birth. So this appears to be what creating transgender mice was actually referring to. What'd you say up here, man? I want to get back to this. It says there's going to be biased articles for each standpoint. We can both find articles from our side. If you were elected president tomorrow, would you appoint people you know and trust? I would appoint people that were qualified. Justin, that's what I would do. That's why you have cabinets. That's why you have advisors. You search out the best and the brightest that you know are qualified individuals with a history of results that are positive and put them in those positions. Every president doesn't have somebody that he trusts for every single thing he would want to do. That's why you have to rely on the track records of those people that you put into those positions. It says, or would you go from suggestions from your political party? See, I don't do political parties. I would not go from suggestions of a political party. I would go by suggestions of people who I know are well qualified to be in these positions. You said, I think we need a major overhaul. I agree with you there. That's why I love the fact that Trump's shaking shit up. I don't think that he's shaking shit up for the reasons that you think he is. Then you go on to say, I'd rather our homeless vets get that money. Yes, I think that everybody across the board agrees that we would like to see homeless vets taken care of, but it's not a good argument when it comes to how certain funds are allocated. If Donald Trump wanted to take care of vets, he could do that right now. If he wanted to deal with homeless vets, he could do that right now. But he's not. Why? Why is he not campaign? Why did he not campaign so heavily on that? Why did he not say, day one, instead of all this other stuff I'm going to do on that, I'm going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, day one. That's the guy you say is shaking shit up. Do you think that's more important than homeless vets? Because he does. That's your guy shaking shit up. He's the guy that thought it was more important to go after Greenland, to fuck with the Panama Canal, and to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Those were priorities day one, along with 62 other things that he signed in. Renaming Denali Mount McKinley. That was some day one stuff. So why not make homeless vets a priority? Because we can all get behind that. Of course vets should be taken care of. But if that's the case, why is he gutting the VA? I've got tons of friends that are vets. I've got family and friends that are vets. I've watched them personally try to deal with Veterans Affairs, and it has been a shit show every single time. I've never seen it be easy for any of them. So do we think taking away people from the VA is going to make that better? How? How will gutting the VA make it better? If anything, you would think you would expand the VA. You would give the VA more funding so that they could actually take care of these folks, take care of these homeless vets. Everybody always wants to throw homeless vets out there. And I'm with you. I'm with you, man. Honest to God. Let's take care of those who served to protect our freedoms, our liberties. We have to take care of those people. It doesn't matter how much the Panama Canal's worth. What do you mean, how much is I mean, I can tell you. That's easy. It's worth a ton of money. And it was a multi-country, it was an international endeavor. And it's not really how much is it worth. It's how much does it how much revenue does it generate? It's like, how valuable is it? I mean, the Panama Canal, the revenue is about $5 billion, which is about 4% of Panama's GDP. Because it's not really how much is it worth. You can't buy the Panama Canal. It's how much does it generate, how much revenue comes in off of it. If you wanted to put a value to it, they're saying $70 to $120 billion. But in 2024, the revenue was close to $5 billion, is about what it was. Which is, like I said, 4% of Panama's GDP. We didn't give it away for free, Justin. I'm I have to read it out loud so we can see both sides. Yeah, and we gave it away for free. We didn't give it away for free. It's something that we all benefit from. At some point, when it comes to things like the Panama Canal, I think we have to think more globally and less isolationist. Because it benefits us for other people to be able to use it as well. It absolutely benefits us for other folks to have access to it and to use it. That was kind of the point of putting it there. It was for commerce. It's for trade. I mean, you and I can both agree, I'm sure, that it's a vital asset for global commerce. But again, I mean, you pay tolls to go through the Panama Canal. But basically, we backed Panama's independence in exchange for the canal. We didn't even buy it ourselves. So we didn't give it away for free because we didn't buy it. It was under what, Roosevelt's administration? And we said we would promote and support a Panamanian bid for independence in exchange for rights to construct the Panama Canal and operate it within a sovereign U.S.-run canal zone. That's how the Panama Canal works. We do have to think globally, Justin. We have to. You can think about what's best for our country and think globally at the same time. Isolationism is never going to work. We have got to have trade partners and good relationships with these other people. If we don't, we'll find ourselves in a position where we're going to need help one day. And we cannot alienate all these other people. I mean, do you think that we should back out of NATO? Do you think that we should back out of the G6? Do you think we should back out of all of those things as well? And that's an honest question for you, brother. Like, do you think that we should back out of The UN is based in New York. Do you think that we should get away from the UN, get away from NATO, and become just we just put our middle fingers in the air and say, we do what we do and we don't need y'all? I'm curious what you think about that. Because I can tell that you and I have similar opinions on some things. So I'm curious kind of where the line is on that. I want to see kind of how far apart we are on that line. Because I think that as a mercantile society, which we are, I mean, we learned it from our mom and dad, the UK. If you're going to be mercantile, you have to have good trade relationships, and you have to share a little bit. Otherwise, you get yourself in a pickle. That's what I mean by thinking globally. Also, the fact that this whole nation thing, we're all on this rock together. You really can't isolate yourself entirely. Because the second people start nuking each other, that shit affects everybody. Let's see. No, I think we need to get away from China, is what Justin Lachey writes. I don't have a problem with getting away from China. But I will say this, and I take it that you're a Donald Trump voter. I don't know how much you support him. I don't know if you consider yourself like a MAGA Republican, or if you just consider yourself more like GOP, like an OG Republican. But I kind of get the feeling that you're a Republican. And you said you think NATO is a good thing. I agree. I think NATO is a good thing. I think the UN is too. But yes, I do think we need to get away from China. I do think that but what I was saying, I don't know how much of a MAGA person you are, if you're a supporter of the whole MAGA movement. But Donald Trump's, all those red hats, those are made in China. Donald Trump's real big on saying, China, get away from China. But he makes half of his shit is made in China. So that's one of the things where I want to look at him and go, okay, bud, you first. You first. If you want to get away from China so bad, you first. You said you do think we should that NATO's a good thing. I agree. You said we need to bring business back to the States, like production. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, Justin, because here's how I look at that. I would love to see more production and industry on the United States. Oh, you dislike Trump. Okay. I wasn't sure where you stood on that. I also dislike Donald Trump. But you say bring stuff back to the States, production and industry back to the States. Man, I could not agree with you more. I think that's very important. We can still think globally while trying to bring industry back to the States and production. The problem is this. Americans are very used to paying a certain amount for certain products. We already see how, with the bird flu and things like that, the rising price of eggs and other things, we see how that is affecting Americans and how Americans are not happy about that. If you want to make things in America, which I think we should make more things in America, absolutely we should. I agree with you 100% on that. It's going to cost more because we cannot pay people as little as they pay people in the Philippines, Indonesia, China, South Korea. We can start naming the countries that we import a lot of inexpensive goods from. Even with the cost of shipping it and the tariffs, it still costs less for it to be made there than it would be to be making it here. Because we have things like labor laws, we have OSHA, we have all kinds of regulations. We have things here that cause that to be a much more expensive endeavor to produce a lot of things here. It will not be cheaper to manufacture in America than it will be to manufacture in Canada, Mexico, China, Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam. It will always be cheaper to produce there and ship it here. I agree with you. I would like to see more production and industry and jobs come back to the United States. Quit outsourcing this stuff. I'm with you on that. But do you think, and this is my question to you, Justin, do you think that the American people are willing for that that shock at the price, when they look at the price tag, do you think that yeah, I'm willing to have a pair of Nikes cost $300 instead of $150? They're going to cost $300. I'm willing to have a 60% to 80% increase on all of these kinds of goods that we typically get from overseas. Some of which we have to keep in mind we can't make here. There are some things that we can't, as far as maybe like produce. We can't grow some things here at the rate at which we would want to have them. Now, when it comes to production, okay, let's make vehicles here. We're going to make cell phones here? Honestly, are we going to make iPhones and Androids in America at the same rate that they're making them overseas? We could, but the cost of that would be absurd. It would be crazy expensive. Let me catch up on some of these. It says, we're founded on independence, and we need to remember that. Yes, we do need to remember that we were founded on independence. However, we have never, one time in the history of this country, been independent of other nations entirely. Never once have we been independent. We were founded on independence as far as, taxation without representation, as far as from the British, things like that. But we have always traded with other countries and other nations. Then you said, it's like Trump. You said, I couldn't hang out with Trump, couldn't be around him for even a minute. That being said, I voted for him. Okay. Yeah. And I get that. We are a nation. Part of our founding was based on independence. Yes. But that is loose. Independence in some ways, or more of like our own control of the type of independence that we want, I think is something that we definitely we're based on. We want to have say, again, Boston Tea Party, for an example, taxation without representation, that doesn't fly. We don't much cotton to that. Okay. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to trade at all. But I agree. Bringing industry back to the States is a great idea. I just don't know if the shock at the price tag is going to be something that the average American, A, is going to be able to budget for or just afford in general, or B, if they're not going to lose their fucking minds. Look what's happening with eggs. If you think that only happens over eggs, wait till other things go up. And they will. Everything will go up if we can only make it here. It'd be good for jobs. In some ways, it'd be good for the economy. But in other ways, it would hurt us. From the comment section, Pete Wood says, well, my shoes, they come from Singapore. My flashlight's from Taiwan. My tablecloth is from Malaysia. My belt buckle from the Amazon. The shirt I'm wearing comes from the Philippines. The car I drive is a Chevrolet, but is put together down in Argentina by a guy that makes 30 cents a day. It's sundown on the Union, and that's what made the USA. Sure was a good idea till greed got in the way. Yeah, I'm for unions. The silk dress is from Hong Kong. The pearls are from Japan. The dog's collar from India. The flower pot from Pakistan. The furniture all says made in Brazil. Where a woman slaved, bringing home 30 cents a day to a family of 12. That's a lot of money to her. Well, it's sundown on the Union, and that's what made the USA. Sure was a good idea till greed got in the way. We know lots of people are complaining that there's no work. They'll say, why you say that for when nothing you got is USA made? They don't make nothing here no more. Capitalism is above the law. I say, I don't count less it sells. When it costs too much to build it at home, you just build it cheaper someplace else. Well, it's sundown on the Union, and that's what made the USA. Sure was a good idea till greed got in the way. Well, the job you used to have, they gave it to somebody down in El Salvador. The unions are big business, friend. and they're going out like the dinosaur, but they used to grow food in Kansas. Now they grow it on the moon and eat it raw. I can see the day coming when even your home garden is going to be against the law. Well, it's sundown on the Union, and that's what made the USA. Sure was a good idea until greed got in the way. Democracy don't rule the world. You better get that in your head. This world is ruled by violence. But I guess that's better left unsaid. From Broadway to the Milky Way, that's a lot of territory indeed. And a man's got to do what he has to do when he's got a hungry mouth to feed. Yeah. The Justin says, honestly think people would rather pay a little more for U.S. made product. The quality of the product is an entirely other issue. Yeah, no, that's a different issue. It absolutely is. I think that in theory, you're right. People would rather pay a little more for USA made products, for sure. In theory. I think people like to say that until it happens. It's like everybody says, I'm all for equality. Until actually, in practice, equality starts to rear its ugly head, then people will change their mind. Says that's true for all countries, though. I agree. I think most countries would like to see stuff come from where they are. I'm not saying all production, but there's no reason we should be outsourcing 90% of our goods. Yeah, no, there's no reason at all, Just. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. There's no reason to outsource 90% of our stuff. I'm for unions except in the dispensary world, LOL. Yeah, right. That just ruins it. We don't want them in dispensaries. No, we do not. No, we do not. This little trade war that Donald Trump's kicking up, I think it's a problem. I think it's showing how Americans actually feel. And I think a lot of Americans, like you and I, agree that we would like to see a lot of this come home to roost back here in the United States. We would love to see that. I just don't think the price point is there. I don't think it makes sense for the American person, the average American. I just don't see it making sense financially. It will be too expensive. And the thing is, so the transition, it'll take 2 generations. You know? It'll take every bit of 2 generations to build the factories, get the infrastructure in place, get everything ready to do this, to bring all the stuff back home to the United States for production. The prices are going to be through the roof for that generation. And the next generation, hopefully, will start to get a grasp on it, get it kind of sorted out. And by the end of that one, maybe the rates will have come back down enough to where we'll start to see the juice be worth the squeeze on that. And I just don't think that the average American is willing to wait 2 generations for that. We would rather have a better trade relationship with our global partners and work out some sort of a deal here, because they get a lot of stuff from us. They get a lot of stuff from us. We get a lot of stuff from them. Let's see this real quick. So the top, I thought this was the case. Top exports by the United States, petroleum, obviously, crude, refined, liquefied natural gas, LNG, petroleum gas, is one of our top exports to other countries. Vehicles, cars, aircraft, engine parts, machineries like gas turbines, nuclear reactors, and boilers. As far as electrical and electronic equipment, a major export category there for us as well. Pharmaceuticals, brand name pharmaceuticals and medical instruments and supplies, that's big. And some other chemicals, plastics, rubber, leather, and forest products. Those are kind of our top exports. Now, we export a lot of other things. But you have to ask, why are we exporting those things? If we need them here, why export them? I think that that's a good question. All right, let's see. It says, let me ask you this. Do you actually think Kamala or Biden would have been a better choice, and why? I hate it. I hate the question, but I'll answer honestly. Biden was obviously no longer a good choice. Biden was a horrible choice to start with. and the Democratic Party has really done a good job of writing the playbook on how to lose a damn election. God, they've gotten so bad. I mean, since Barack Obama, starting in the Hillary and Trump election, the Democrats did a really good job of figuring out a way to never win another presidential election. And again, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican at all. I'm I guess, a global centrist, which in America sounds like a baby-eating, socialist, far left, whatever. But I'm not. To answer your question, the Democratic Party has done a really good job of going by what the convention wants and not by what the people want. If they went by what the people want, Bernie Sanders would have been a candidate twice now, but they didn't. They blame Bernie for Hillary not winning. And what's funny is actually Hillary's why Bernie didn't win. And Kamala Harris is also why Bernie didn't get a shot. And I think that he would have won because he is very much along the lines of let's bring stuff back home. Let's produce things in this country. He has stood on business his entire life in politics. I do not think that all right, I'll just say it this way. I think that Kamala Harris would have been better than Donald Trump for one reason. Inflammatory language that riles up an entire group of people, half the country, is never a good way to govern. Period. The dude has a shitty nickname for every single person that he deals with. Everybody. And that is no way to be a leader. Because then what it does, it alienates another side and makes them feel like they're not represented. And then you get mad saying there's a lot of division. Well, yeah, because you're the one creating the division by using this shitty rhetoric and using these horrible, slanderous phrases and names for people. That's no way to say, I want to work with you. I want to work with the other side. Do I like Kamala Harris? No, not at all. As an AG of California, she was shitty with the mandatory minimums for marijuana crimes that directly, disproportionately affected black and brown people in California. That was shitty, and she turned against her own folks. No, I don't like her. I think at the core of it, the rhetoric is problematic. He's not fixing things. He's not going to fix things. He didn't in his first term, and he's not going to in this one. The best we can hope for is 4 years of just nothing getting too much worse, which is what we would do under Kamala too, until we get another reset. Because for a fact, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, you cannot tell me that those were the two best options out of the 350 million people in this country. Those are our two best options for president of these United States. You cannot tell me that those are the two best options that we had. They're not. We all know that. And then Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You cannot tell me that that was the best two options that we had in this whole country. It wasn't. Just not. And then Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. You cannot tell me those are the best two options, the best two candidates, because we know that they're not. What'd you say over here? The American people love that shit, though. Oh, the name calling and all that. The American people love McDonald's and Jerry Springer, but that doesn't mean that it's good for us. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make us the laughing stock of the fucking globe. It's bad. Where's the decorum? Where's the seriousness? Honestly, at what point do we not stand up and go, this is just not serious? Oh, you even said it. We watch shit like Jerry Springer, UFC, and reality shows. Trump's perfect if you think about it. No, yes, I see what you're saying. Give them their bread and circus. Give the unwashed masses the bullshit to distract them and all that. Yeah, we absolutely, as Americans, there's a group of Americans who absolutely love that. You're right, Justin. People just tuning in are going to think I'm talking to myself. I'm having a conversation with the gentleman in the comment section, Justin Lachey, about the differences in the sides of the party aisle, amongst other things. Yes, we do. Some people like those kind of things. Some people also like, they like their trailer in a holler somewhere where they drink their Keystone every night and they, their family tree doesn't have a lot of branches on it. There's folks who are that way. There's folks who like to have a sound system and wheels on their vehicle that cost more than the vehicle itself. There are people who are that way too. There are people who have their priorities all askew, but that's not the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans are not UFC, reality show, McDonald's eating, Jerry Springer watching people. The majority of us, and you're proving that you're one of them like me, because you're willing to sit and have a conversation. You're willing to, articulate your opinions and your thoughts. That's the majority of Americans. We would like to see a leader who acts like an adult. Donald Trump brings out the worst in people. Period. Donald Trump brings out the worst in people. Somebody said after this the first time he got elected, said, I just didn't realize that America was so racist. People could, be brought around to have so much hate in their heart, so much bigotry for LGBTQ people and for people of other races and from other countries. And I just didn't realize that, he could bring that out. All he did was give them a platform so they felt like it was okay to say that shit. They were always there. They just feel emboldened. He literally brings out the worst in people. Pete Wood says in the comment section, bread and circus. We're living in the Roman Empire. I said it a second ago. Give them their bread and circus. Make sure that they're not starving, but they have to work really, really hard just to make it by, so they have to stay busy. Combined with give them something to entertain themselves. The UFC reality show, Jerry Springer shit. Justin Lachey jumps back in and says, I couldn't have tolerated that fake smile and laugh with Kamala for 4 years, just being honest. Brother, it would have been difficult for me too. It would have been difficult. She gets on my nerves. But what she didn't do was blatantly lie on a regular basis. She's a politician, so she lies all the time. Jordan Peterson for president? Oh, God. That's a horrible idea. Horrible idea. Please don't say the next thing you're going to say is one of the Tate brothers. Because, that's about the same level as Jordan Peterson. But hey, the Tate brothers, it makes sense because also rapists and misogynists, just like Donald Trump. I cannot believe that we have found ourselves in a position in this nation, this great country of ours, these United States, where, I know she lied a lot. Justin, I know she lied a lot. But the thing she lied about, I know this sucks. It's the lesser of two evils. The things that she lied about, she wouldn't look at you with a blue shirt on and say that it was red. That's the difference. He just straight up lies about shit. And I'll tell you, when it should have been over for Donald Trump, should have been when he made fun of a physically handicapped reporter live on television. That should have been it. All these Christians, all these conservatives, anybody with two brain cells holding hands should have gone, okay, that's a bridge too far. That's not okay. That is not okay. Openly making fun of a handicapped person on live television as the leader of the free world. There's just no there's no excuse for that. Oh, what's wrong with Jordan Peterson? He's a bigot and a misogynist and a hothead and a conspiracy theorist. That's a start. He's a quack. I mean, he says that he's yes, he did make fun of that reporter, Justin. Don't do that. You're better than that, bud. I know you are. You are better than that. Just this short conversation, you are better than that. He imitated him, making the guy had a hand and an arm that was deformed, and he sat there. No, that is not edited clips to make it look like that. Absolutely not. I've watched the entire thing start to finish. Come on, dude. You're smarter than that. I know you are. Just in this conversation, I can tell you're smarter than that. He absolutely made fun of that reporter. Jordan Peterson is also white supremacist adjacent. He's a Nazi sympathizer. He has literally like no empathy, and he punches down at every opportunity that he gets, especially at less privileged communities. I mean, he's a bigot. He stirs up a moral panic, in my opinion. He loves division. He loves hate and division. But then he masks it as this like self-help guru, which he absolutely is not. Where did he go to college? He's Canadian, right? Was it University of Ontario? University of Toronto? I forget. Jordan Peterson, whenever you're talking about him, one of his solutions to, you know what incels are? Involuntarily celibate people, incels. He says that he thinks you should have enforced monogamy. Shit like that's dangerous. He was talking about assigning women to men. Every man gets assigned a woman as if they're a piece of property. And these are his words. Yeah, Jordan Peterson is highly problematic. He says that would keep men from being bad or misbehaving, as if you assigned every man a woman. That would keep men in check. Or it could just be men taking care of their business and not acting like assholes. Why is it the woman's fault? Like, where's the accountability there for a man? He's also like super against gender expression and things like that. You know, stuff that just straight up doesn't affect any of us at all. He's extremely transphobic. So yeah, that's why I do not like Jordan Peterson. I'm going to pull this up real quick since we were talking about it a second ago, Justin. He literally said that any sort of trans people or any sort of this is Justin. This is responding to what he said. He says, "Oh, I can't remember what I said," and shakes his body. Trump literally does that when he imitates anyone. Not exactly, but he says we just disagree on JP. Way too much fake news out there about him. He literally said trans people are as bad as the Holocaust and Auschwitz. That is a quote. He said that, dude. Come on. But I wanted to pull this up because I've had to use this before. It's a PolitiFact fact check. Oh, let me get it here. Okay, so you said that was a clip that was edited of him making fun of the reporter. So, last fall, this is back in 2016, when he was speaking before Super PAC, when he's running against Hillary Clinton. He was broadly criticized for appearing to physically mimic New York Times reporter Serge Kovaleski at a campaign rally in South Carolina, November the 24th. Kovaleski has arthrogryposis. It's a congenital condition which limits the movement of his joints, whose right hand is sharply angled at the wrist. His hand's already, it's bent all the way over. And Trump says, you got to see this guy, while his right hand flopped at the angle as he shouts in a weird, agitated voice, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. And he points at, you got to see this guy. And he's doing the wrist thing. He is absolutely making fun of him. 100%, without question, absolutely. I see you, Pete. Chimes in. She says, see, people always think that we're joking when we tell them that we picked out husbands. But then you realize there are people out there that are legit about assigning women to men. Yeah. Jordan Peterson talks about it. That's why Anna said she picked me as her husband. But yeah, no, it's... one of the best, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Sorry, I'm not trying to get hung up on my words here. One of the defining qualities and characteristics of any Trump campaign or administration is him saying, do not believe what your eyes are seeing. We start getting into like, Justin says, and they spun the narrative really well. No, there is no narrative to spin. That's exactly what I was talking about. It's 1984, it's Orwellian, it's Fahrenheit 451, it's Animal Farm, all rolled into one. Newspeak. When they start telling you what you saw with your own eyes isn't what you saw, that's a problem. And that is a key component and tenet to every Trump campaign and to every Trump administration. I didn't do that. And look at it, it's trickled down throughout his party. MTG does that all the time. Marjorie Taylor Greene does it all the time. Lauren Boebert does it all the time. They say, we caught you doing this. No, you didn't. Yeah, but we see it. I didn't see that. That's not what happened. That is a core tenet of any campaign or presidency of Donald Trump. That's not what happened. It's revisionist history at its best. That's not what happened. Justin says he wasn't deliberately making fun of his disability. He was poking fun at the reporter's stupidity. I'm sorry, but just because you have a disability doesn't excuse you from being a dumbass. Okay, just because you have a disability. All right, so make fun of that. Make fun of his stupidity. You're right. A disability does not excuse you from being a dumbass. 100%. I don't think he was a dumbass, but say he was being a dumbass. You're right. Disability does not exclude you from being criticized for your dumbassery. So attack that. So go after that. There is no reason to mock somebody's physical disabilities, because then you're a bully. That just makes you a bully. And that's exactly what he is. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to make up names for everybody. He wouldn't have to make up little names for everybody if he wasn't a bully. That's what bullies do. Say what you think somebody's problem is. I think that your policies on this are trash. I think that you flip-flop. I think you this. I think you that. Okay, something with some substance. But don't everything can't be ad hominem. You can't just jump immediately to an ad hominem argument. We start making fun of somebody's character or their physical person. What did Justin say? My argument is that he did. Oh, what you're saying, that he did go after him for being a dumbass, not for his disability. He did both. That's the thing. He did both. If your argument about his dumbassery was strong enough, you would not have had to have used a personal slight about a physical disability in order to prop up that argument. Period. Because then you start losing the argument. You lose credibility the second that you do that. Yes, I agree. He did make that argument. Or he did. Your argument is valid in that side. It's just the and he also made fun of his disability, and that's a problem. It comes back to saying you didn't see that. What you thought you saw, you did not see. I got a question for you, Justin, because I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed the back and forth. My question to you would be this. Do you think that the assassination attempt, the quote-unquote assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, was staged? Or do you think that he actually was shot? Because, like a week later at the RNC, his ear was fine. The rifle of that caliber, a round moving at that speed, those ballistics, coming close enough to your head to graze your ear, or coming close enough to your head to nick your ear, would do more than nick. It would do a lot more damage than that. I've grown up around firearms my whole life. I worked for a federal firearms license dealer. I've shot tons of kinds of weapons in my life. And yeah, you don't get nicked by that type of a rifle and it not do a little more damage. And also not just like miraculously heal. I'm just curious, do you think that was actually staged in some way or not? I'm not sure. I have a hard time believing that happened the way that it went down. But boy, it sure did a good job of rallying some people up for his side. Trying to get the text line to refresh here. The Misfits Market and Expo 2025 text line. That's 388-9080 if you want to text in like this texter just did. It says it was definitely staged. You can't convince me otherwise. See, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I guarantee it was. Some stuff seems a little sus to me, but this texter says they think it was completely staged. If you care to expand upon that, shoot me a text again. There were too many things that seemed a little bit too off. A little bit too off. Justin says he does not think it was staged. Okay, maybe do you think it was in any way blown out of proportion to a degree? Like there was more to it than that. Either that or that kid is a horrible shot. I mean, horrible shot. Also talking about the character of a man. Donald Trump said it was God's will. God saved him so that he could come and save the country. He could save the nation. God spared him and saved him, right? He said that. What about that poor guy in the back? The lifelong firefighter? The father of two or whatever? Husband? What about that guy that got shot and died? I guess God didn't give a shit about him, right? That was part of the plan. God's plan was so that offed. So that Trump can go on to save the nation? It's a really skewed way of looking at God. If that's your thing, if God is your thing, that's a weird way to look at God. pretty self-involved, pretty, in my opinion. This texter on the 2025 Misfits Market text line and call-in line that was saying that they thought it was staged, can't change their mind, just sent me a link or 5 to what can only be described as what yeah, but see, a lot of that stuff looks like conspiracies and weird stuff. I'll look at it. Trust me. I will look into that. We're going to wrap the show up here in a second anyway, so I'll look at every bit of it, but it better pass the smell test. I like facts. I like facts a whole lot. We deal in facts around these parts. Well, that's going to wrap the show up for today. I got a couple things I got to get to here really quick, so I'm going to call it just a little bit early, about 15 minutes earlier than normal. I normally go till 2 o'clock, but I'm going to wrap it up real fast. Got some insurance things I got to take care of. Appreciate you guys participating. Justin Lachey, seriously, enjoyed the conversation a whole lot today, man. I like having good conversation with folks who can have good conversation back. You seem like a really smart guy. So thank you. Thanks for being a part of the show today. Made it even more fun. I always like new folks stopping by. Feel free to call anytime you want to between 11 and 2 on the Misfits Market and Expo text line and call in line at 731-388-9080. It's down at the corner of the screen over here. Got it written right down there. So yeah, always feel free to give me a call or to text back in anytime, man. Honestly, really enjoyed that. Well, you know, I say it at the end of every show, be nice to each other out there. You never know what other folks are going through. You just really, really don't. Everybody's got their own struggles. Everybody's got their own battles. No reason to make anybody's day harder, life harder. Shit, why would you do that? You don't want folks to do that to you? Don't do that. Someone should write that down in a good book somewhere sometime. My name's Justin White. This has been Factor On and Find Out. Always enjoy the time that I spend with you guys. I will see you back tomorrow. Same bad time, same thing. See you tomorrow at 11.